First off, I'm going to start this video with a warning. This is not a pro-conservative. This isn't a pro-liberal statement. This is not a pro-defund the police. This isn't a pro-Blue Lives Matter video. I have specific concerns when it comes to police corruption in this country. I am going to piss off people on both sides of the aisle and the argument that is anything dealing with police. If you can't stomach that, you might as well turn away because I am not going to play nice. I find a lot of this argument to be hypocrisy on both sides, and I'm going to point them out. I'm going to point out all of these problems. If you don't like that, like I said, turn away because I am going to go into why I dislike police corruption, even though I should be, according to the way that politics goes in this country, on the side of the police. Well, guess what? There are good cops, there's corrupt cops, there are bad cops. All of this needs to be pointed out, along with the political decisions that have caused this problem. So here we go.
Howdy, y'all. This is Paul, the Redneck Thinker. What we have here is a channel to communicate. I want you folks to be thinking by the time you leave my videos. Why? Because I'm tired of people talking via what other people tell them to think. So, watch my video and enjoy the chance to think for yourself.
Now, it has gotten to the point where there are folks out there that are wanting to defund the police. I think that's a stupid move. There are also those out there that think, oh, even when cops do bad, that we need to defend them. Okay, why? You've got folks that are all against government corruption. Well, the police are part of the government, and when they're being corrupt, that needs to be called out. There are those that are out there that are calling for defunding the police, yet they're in the areas of this nation that are some of the worst crime-ridden areas. Drugs, prostitution, all of these things that, hey, we have said as a nation that we find them to be necessary to be illegal. I find all of this stupid. Defunding the police is not the answer. You need police that are doing their job. They're called law enforcement. We need people enforcing the laws. I don't want to see people that take other people's lives walking around. People that do nasty things to children do not need to be walking around. The people that do nasty things to women do not need to be walking around. We have a country that has some serious criminal issues. And those people that are calling for defunding the police are defending that. But at the same time, if the people that are supposed to be defending us against nasty criminals and violent criminals are also doing things such as what's going on around Albuquerque right now, which is finding ways to take money from people, no, I am not for that. I am not for cops not getting punished for taking someone's lives. When a regular person takes a life in a manner such as the way that some of these police take lives, yes, the police deserve to go to jail because they committed a crime, whether they were on duty or not. There comes a point where we need to get rid of the hypocrisy. Period. We need to have police officers that hold themselves up to a higher standard because guess what? They're doing a job that is supposed to have higher standards. And that is what I will defend is cops holding themselves up to a higher standard. We also need things done within the police department that people are not wanting to do. But guess what? It would make law enforcement better. It would make the nation better. But they're not wanting to do that because, oh, you're speaking out against cops. Because I am wanting reforms does not mean that I want rid of police officers. I have been helped by police officers. The first person that I had a long conversation with that was helpful to me after I had problems that were caused by medical issues, but it caused mental issues, was a police officer. That police officer, to this day, I credit with me being able to get started back on the right foot just from a conversation. That was a good police officer. Yet, the police officers that do things such as, let's talk about a story here. I had a friend of mine when I was in my 20s who had been forced into a gang when he was living in Florida. The neighborhood that he lived in was ruled by a gang, and to not be beaten up, to not be taken advantage of, to not have horrible things done to him, and to be able to help his family not have to deal with the crime that gangs do, had been forced into a gang. Well, his family had come together and said, "We're getting you out of this situation." They sent him up to Tennessee, where I lived at. I met him. He worked hard, had his own job, had created a life for himself with the help of his family. Because he was different, one of the local cops constantly harassed him. And yes, that's the only term for what he did. One of the stops that he got, they literally pulled out a measuring tape and measured his steering wheel to give him a ticket because they didn't want his kind around there. Here's a man who was being a productive member of society. Here was a man that had escaped with the help of his family from being a statistic and had become a great person to be around. I enjoyed being around him. We didn't do drugs. We didn't drink. We just sat there, talked, and had fun. Okay, we smoked cigarettes. I knew him to be a good person, yet because he was different, and by the way, no, this was not a black gang. This was a Hispanic gang that he was part of. He was from a Hispanic neighborhood. They were legally in the U.S. They had actually been there for several generations. And here was a guy who was making something of himself, and he was being harassed by a cop because he was different. I find that stupid. So let's get into something that really got me started in disliking police corruption. When I was younger than a teenager, it was sometime around when I was 11, 12 years old, a family that my mother was close to started had a son. They had multiple sons, by the way. We're talking like 4 or 5 sons. One of their sons had not wanted to follow in the family business. Yes, this was a prominent family in the area. He had decided to take the easy way out of life and got involved not as a dealer. He had a license and had gotten involved with a massive drug group. I think it was a cartel. I was 11, 12 at the time. And he had started getting the eyes of the feds on him. He also got busted for something else. Dealing with that, he was growing marijuana. Well, a sheriff in the area who was the opposite political party of this prominent family knew that his department was under investigation for multiple things. I found out later on when I was in my 30s, I got to know a deputy who had worked under this sheriff that they thought, okay, if we can push some of this onto that family, then we can take out a major political family of the opposite political party and also take the heat off of us because they knew they were getting investigated. There were folks that had gotten arrested from that sheriff's department. They were trying to get rid of the heat that was on their department. So they started trying to push this family. They thought, well, if this one son had gotten involved, maybe they were all involved. And they thought if they could bring heat, that they would start hiding evidence, that they would start being nervous and making mistakes. Turned out that that family, all except for that one son, had never actually gotten involved with doing illegal activity at that time. One of the other sons later on would do something, but that's not relevant to this story. They followed people that were close to that family. They illegally wiretapped. They were doing things to push them into trying to make mistakes just so that they could hide the corruption that was in their sheriff's department. Now, I found that out later on. I just thought that they were trying to bust this family. No, as I said, when I was in my 30s, I knew I've got to become actually decent friends with one of the former deputies, and he told me this. He said, this is what they were doing this entire time. He said, I actually stopped being a cop because of this. That was the silliness of what was going on, and that was my introduction into police corruption as a young kid, getting to see people that I knew that were being harassed by cops because, as I later found out, they were trying to hide their own crimes. I also knew that they were having people that were getting arrested in that sheriff's department. But still, people kept voting this person into office because he was politically powerful. That was my first taste into that life. One of the reasons why I started this channel was because I also wanted to introduce history, contextual history, into what's going on in our political life. Now, I've gone away from that a little bit too much, and I need to get back into it. As I was thinking of this story, or thinking of what to make of this video, that that's something I need to do because as a Southerner, I do not like people like Bull Connor. What they did in the civil rights era sickens me. It sickens me that also that there were police departments in the South that teamed up with racist groups and did the things that they did against folks because of their skin color. And those photos growing up seeing what those law enforcement members did sickens me as a Southerner. Now, am I some liberal? No. If you go through most of my channel, you will see that I am not a liberal. I believe in small government. And here's the thing the Democrats, yes, Bull Connor and all of these others were Democrats. The people fighting against the civil rights movements were not Republican, they were Democrat, even though there are people that seem to believe that they were. You take a look at what Woodrow Wilson did. Here is a man who was Southern, even though he was the former governor of New Jersey, he was the president of Princeton. He was from the South. He got his start in the Atlanta area. He segregated he segregated the government. It took until Truman came about. The only One of the only good things that I have found that Truman did was desegregate the government. I don't like that about the history of a place that I love dearly. I grew up in the South. I still live in the South. I don't want to ever live up north because I don't. Number one, I can't get sweet tea up north. Yes, that is actually a reason for me. I happen to love sweet tea. But to be someone who loves my South, I don't love, matter of fact, I despise those folks who think, oh, we can hate on somebody because of their skin color. No, that is not the way to be. To know the corruption and what those police departments did, no. And every single one of those police departments voted for Democrat Party. You think I'm joking? You go back and research it yourself. I know that up north that it was a more mixed bag, but in the South, the KKK was all about the Democrat Party. The conversations that I had with folks when Barack Obama was running for president that was coming from members of the Democrat Party in the South was hilarious because these backwoods boys couldn't stomach the fact that their party, that they had lovingly cherished, that had done some of the nastiest things to people because of skin color, was about to elect a black man to be president. Never mind the fact that I don't like Barack Obama. I didn't have a problem with his skin color. I could have cared less about his skin color. I was looking at an election where, yes, I will admit that I had even voted for Barack Obama the first time around. Why? Because one, I didn't like that John McCain. The John McCain of 2000 and John McCain of 2008 were completely different people, or so I thought. And what I saw coming out of McCain's election and then listening to I believed the lies that came out of Barack Obama's mouth. Both of them were not suited to be president. I have now, hindsight being 2020, have now found out. No, I did not support McCain in 2008 and wish that I had not supported Obama by giving my vote. Neither one of them were worth having as president. And but at the same time, the Democrats, oh my God, some of the conversations that I had with the longtime Democrats that had lived through the civil rights era, was hilarious to hear their comments. And it wasn't about what he stood for, what Obama stood for. No, it was about his skin color most of the time. That is why, historically, I have a problem with the Democrat Party because of what they did to the South and how they used law enforcement to destroy people's lives because of skin color and because people were defending black folks down there. I had a massive problem with that. I still have a massive problem with that, and why I will never support the Democrat Party. I'm going to go into another area of history, even, where I take a look at history and I go, no, I don't want that for the U.S. I study up on tyranny. One of the first things that you notice about tyranny is how they use law enforcement. If you have law enforcement that has ultimate power in a nation, it becomes a police state. You take a look at 1930s, 1940s Germany. You take a look at any country. You take a look at Russia, well, Soviet Union. Heck, even take a look at Russia nowadays. Take a look at what Zelensky and his political party has done in Ukraine. That's why I can't back Ukraine. I can't back Russia either. I don't back either one of them. You take a look at what's going on inside of Europe nowadays. They are fighting against free speech. They claim, oh, it's Russian propaganda and it's hateful speech. Even when it's telling the truth, they're arresting people. You take a look at places in Africa where the leaders are tyrannical. Not There are plenty of African countries that at one time were not tyrannical, that were actually trying to be something, but the ones that hold power over their citizens like a hammer use police in a nasty manner. You take a look in China. You take a look in Heck, take a look at what Juan Perón did down in Argentina. You take a look at how Fidel Castro and Guevara did the people of Cuba. The police are used in those nations not just as law enforcement, but as hammers. And they smash down the people of their nations. You take a look at what's going on in Europe. They are trying to smash down the people of Europe to be what is basically liberal. You take a look at what the liberals in this country have been doing. Now, at the same time, the conservatives keep passing laws which make it easy to use the po- police in this country as hammers. That's the problem. You have conservatives that think, oh, we can just keep passing laws and be a nanny state for our side, and the Democrats get into power and they pass laws to turn us into a nanny state. There is no common sense in either one of them. Constantly passing laws to tell people what to do in their home, tell people how to think, and tell people what they should be allowed to do. There is no reason for that in this country. We have been moving towards being a police state, and I don't like it. And police corruption added on top of that? No. I am not going to stomach either one of those things happening in the U.S., so I am going to speak out against it. You don't like it? Oh well. Are there good police officers? Yes. Are those good police officers not liking this nanny state thought process? Yes. But they are in a minority because we are training cops to think that they have this ultimate authority, and then they get worshipped by certain people in this country. No, I don't want a police state in this country. And police corruption helps push us towards that, especially when you support cops over actually putting cops away for their corruption. That is not something I can stomach. I have people, one of the reasons why I was to think about making this video, I have people that will join my channel because they see my police corruption videos and they're thinking, oh, okay, well, they're thinking that I am liberal. Then they see my conservative videos and they unjoin my channel. Okay, fine. I have no problems with that. If you thought that I was only one way politically, well, if that's how you live your life, fine. I am called Redneck Thinker because I am a redneck who actually lived among rednecks who understand that rednecks, even when we're doing silly things, because, well, I love rednecks for that because, well, I am a redneck and I have done silly things and I've watched other rednecks do silly things. I may not always agree with what they do, but still, it's the joy of being a redneck. We like living a simple life. But here's the thing. When you actually sit down with a real redneck, we're not talking about white trash. White trash are not rednecks. When you sit down with somebody who's sitting there willing to work all their life to provide for their not just their family, but because they enjoy working, even though they also enjoy having time to watch college football or sit there and go hunting, go fishing. You see those folks and you're thinking, oh, well, they're not. No, you sit down with them and you actually talk to them. You find out real quick that there are a whole lot of rednecks. Now, J.D. Vance is considers himself more of a hillbilly. Hillbillies and rednecks are a lot alike. You take a look at what he's done in his life. Most rednecks and hillbillies, for that matter, will sit there and they will think about how they need to do things. They will sit there and they will think about how their life is going and how their families' lives are going. Rednecks think about what's going on. They may not have the education that J.D. Vance has. They may not have the education or the power that somebody like, say, Dolly Parton has. But what they do is think about things. They read up on things. They listen to things. They pay attention far more than they are given credit for. Us rednecks do those sorts of things. And as a redneck, I remember what it takes to get through life. And I have sat there and talked with my fellow rednecks. I have talked with hillbillies. Yes, there is a difference, and I'm not going to go into it. But we think about things. And let me tell you, most rednecks don't like government. Why? Because they see the stupidity that's brought about by government. And rednecks are well aware, and hillbillies are well aware, of the dangers of what corrupt law enforcement will do. We have no problems dealing with law enforcement. I am not stating here that we need to defund the police or that we need to get rid of all police. No, I sit here and think, okay, well, I want police departments and sheriff's departments, and even on the federal level and state level, to be people that I can use as not necessarily idols or heroes, but as people that uphold the law without interfering in people's lives. Why? Because I don't like revenuers, even though I've never ran a still a day in my life. I like to have the ability to be able to drink some shine without having to worry that the person that I just bought the shine from is going to get busted. Because if I like the shine, I want to be able to go back and get it. I prefer shine over most alcohol, even though I have grown a love for certain types of whiskey in my life. Shine is something that I really love. And I don't think that somebody should get busted just because they're making it. I have no problems with people smoking marijuana. I have smoked it on occasion in my life. I wouldn't smoke it every day if I had to. I hear about these people, oh, I smoke weed. No. I have no problems with somebody smoking marijuana, having possession of marijuana. I find it silly that a plant that grows in the earth and has valid medicinal purposes should be as illegal as it is. That's part of that nanny state mindset. I also don't think that half the things that they want to do to people because, well, they're just having a good time, not messing with people, not doing, nobody is a victim, should get arrested. But that's what happens in a police state, and as a redneck who dislikes government that oversteps boundaries, I'm not going to tolerate it. Just like I have not tolerated federal government overstepping, which I have done for years. I have done for over a decade at this point. I am not going to deal with the fact that there are people that are doing this. I don't care if they wear a badge or not. So, if you don't like that, don't follow my channel. But you all know what? I'm here. This is going to be what I do. And I'm a small government conservative. That's the only way to describe what I am. I am not a libertarian. I am not a Republican. I am not a Democrat. I am somebody who is on the right side of the political spectrum, close to being a minarchist. Actually, I probably am a minarchist by the definition. I don't believe in anarchy, but at the same time, I don't believe in a government that is so large that it takes everything from everybody and tells them how to live. So, yes, I guess that I fit the definition of minarchist, and I will stand by that. That's the way I am. This has been Paul, the Redneck Thinker. Y'all have a good day now. Bye. So, folks, that's the story that I wanted to bring you on this video. And I just wanted to say thank you again for coming by. Hit like, subscribe, comment, all that fun stuff if you don't mind. Help me out. So, y'all have a good day now. Bye.